Right. Hello everyone. I will say assalamu alaikum, namaste, hola, hello. What are some other languages I should be saying hello? And anybody want to drop something in the chat?
Anu.
Anu, anything else?
안녕하세요.
Annyeonghaseyo, aloha.
Ilocano.
I love it. Keep going. Bonjour, aloha. Thank you, Carolyn. I am super sawadi. Is that how I say it? Tell me how I say it. Sawadi. Super excited to be here with you all on Wednesday night. It has been such an honor to serve on the council this last 2 years, but what has been really inspiring is to listen to you all for 10 minutes, and I only got to watch 10 minutes, talk about the changes that you want to see in housing and how we can start meeting the housing needs of our community. So you all actually know more than I know, a couple of you, when you're talking about like empty tax, just some of the stuff, I was like, oh, wow, like this is an intelligent group. Like I wish they sat up on the city council dais with me when we talk about these discussions. So I'm here today in front of you, como está, to say, what is testimony and what does it mean to testify and what does it look like to give testimony? And traditionally, those with power and privilege and access to the English language and access to people, they're the ones who come and testify, whether they testify in person, whether they testify via email, whether they testify via phone. And our hope today with you is to understand what it means to give testimony, talk about the importance of testimony, and then ideally practice writing some testimony that y'all want to give. Because of this audience, and time, I'm not going to go into the testimonies that we get, but I want you to know there are people in this community that sometimes email us once a week to complain about something. I'm just letting you know that because I want you to know what you're up against, okay? So you got people who complain to us once a week. You've got people who complain to us and write reports creating fear about some issues, okay? And so what happens is there's like this noise. And so this is like a city councilor's brain, right? And the goal is for our brain to be filled with your voices and your testimony and your experiences. But I've got my friend, unnamed constituent, right, who emails me once a week about something. And my goal, right, is to make sure that they get this much of my time, right? And the only way we'll do that is if our voices in this room and the rooms around us make sure that we submit testimony or share our lived experiences with people. And sometimes you have to do it 10 times more because one of my friendly constituents who emails me once a week, right? I get other constituents who email me maybe once a month. And so I share this with you because you're already competing against this counselor's brain that's trying to decide what policy that they want to work on. And that's hard. How do we make our brains care about housing when unnamed person is emailing about a sidewalk? And don't get me wrong, we got to fix the sidewalk. And some of those emails are really important. But immigrant and refugee communities have not traditionally known how to say, we need X. And so we're going to get it and we're going to ask for it. And so I'll start with how to sort of start testimony. And then I want to hear from you if there's anything that you want to testify about. And then I want us to go off and start working on testimony on our own. So there's kind of two ways to start with testimony, in my opinion. The first one is to start with story. And the power of story is everything. The second one is to start with what you want done, which is also really awesome. So I'm going to do a story kind of example for you. And this is a true story because I'm just getting these emails today. On Sunday, I was calendaring for my son's school where he goes to middle school. And we saw that outdoor school was scheduled during our religious holiday. You can imagine my surprise and disappointment to realize that important school function is being scheduled on his religious holiday. I now have to ask him to choose. That's not fair. It shouldn't be my choice. And so what I've done is I've sent an email to all the people that I can to say, please don't make this date set so that my son can participate in the school event and also participate in his religious holiday. That's a really short testimony, but it's a very true story that's happening to me in the last 72 hours. What do you all want to testify about? If you could give testimony about something, what would it be? Come off mute, drop it in the chat.
I have a question.
Huh?
How much time do you get to testify usually?
It's a great question. So different municipalities, I think, have different rules. The city of Beaverton allows you 3 minutes at the beginning of every meeting. Oh, she says 2 minutes, but 3 in the city of Beaverton. And Ernesto, to follow up to that question, if you are so shy that you don't want to call and testify or show up to a meeting and testify, you can just write an email and testify. That's totally fine as well. I think it's very powerful to hear your voice and your experience, but it's also okay to send an email instead. You should see all the emails I sent in the last 72 hours about this little outdoor school business I'm dealing with right now. Come on, y'all. You were chatting before. What do you want to testify? If you could testify about something, if you could dream the things, like, what do you want to see? Yes, Pew, you can email in your language. We will have to make sure that we can get translation for you. I can do teacher wait time for like more than 10 seconds. Because you're supposed to wait 10 seconds. But if nobody says anything, I can just do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Ernesto, you gave me such a big thing and I lost them.
No, that's okay. We have Gloria. We have a hand raised.
Oh, I didn't see it. How do you say? Oh,
No, it's okay. Gloria, the floor is all yours, but I highly encourage everyone that is here to participate. You are all selected because you are leaders in your community, whether you're in the chat or off mute. This is me asking you to get excited because this is testimony. That's why we join these programs, to learn more about it. If we want change, then we gotta annoy them. Let's remember, sorry, I'm gonna go on a tangent, but we voted them. They work for us, not the other way around.
it's true.
But more of us need to get loud, because at the end of the day, if we don't like what they're doing, we don't need to elect them. Sorry, but we don't, you know? So this is your time, y'all. Gloria, the floor is yours.
So I just want to ask you, if I want to testify about how important it is to have or to own your own house, and after you do that, sometimes you think, oh, I is my dream come true, and then things happen, and maybe you lose your job, and then you are almost losing the house that you were always dreaming. So if I want to testify about that, because that happened to me in the past, I didn't lose my house, but I was this close to lose it. So how you said it's going to be like 3 minutes,
Yes.
what you do to testify, and then somebody will help you to kind of write or put your thoughts together so you are prepared to go there and talk in public.
Yeah, so I always recommend if you want to write out something. And so part of the time here is to potentially write something out. And if we stay quiet, then I'm going to give you all something I want you to write testimony on, because why not? When you talk about home ownership, I think that's a bigger policy, right? Like, what does it look like to solve that? And so you'll give your public testimony. Just the protocol is that they'll listen, we will listen, but usually nobody will respond to you in that moment. And sometimes they'll have someone send a follow-up email. When you're talking about something as big as home ownership, I think as a council, people might say, yes, we believe in what you're saying. We have to figure out how to direct funds for us to be able to get there. Some programs and changes don't happen at the city level. Sometimes they happen at a state level. Sometimes they happen at a federal level. So there are multiple layers of getting what you want, but you won't even begin to get what you want if you don't start with testimony. So if your passion is home ownership and working towards more pathways to home ownership, the staff that's actually here from the city are probably the most intelligent people that can talk to you around how to advocate for that and what it looks like to get more funding and or more programming. It might be the council. It might be a county entity. It could be a state entity. There are multiple layers to get some of these things happening. And that's why testimony is so crucial, because it usually starts the process. Does that answer your question, Gloria?
Yes. Yes, it did.
Awesome. Yes, Hugo.
Hey, I just had a quick question as someone, getting more involved just with being with a nonprofit org as well. What would you say are some of the most common testimonies you hear regarding housing?
Gosh, I'm looking at my city. I don't know that people give testimony in housing. I just I can't think of anyone. Like, it's been more around our houseless community, like us having humanity and taking care of our houseless folks, but never really focused on housing specifically. So I guess that means you're going to be working on testimony around housing today. Okay. So here's what I'm going to ask you. As you're quiet, and that's okay. I want you to think about something that you mentioned in housing, right? You did a post-it in the Jamboard. There was something that you wrote, maybe, that you were like, this is the thing. This is what I want. This is what I care about. And I want you to write a testimony about it. And it doesn't have to be housing. Maybe your son goes to my son's middle school and they decided to have a conflict when your holiday is, and you want to write testimony about that. Maybe you walked on the sidewalk the other day and tripped because there was a cracked sidewalk, and our staff need to know that there's a cracked sidewalk. Maybe you saw something happen that didn't feel right and you don't know what to do about it, and you're trying to navigate what it means to speak up about that. Maybe a landlord treated you very poorly or tried to evict you, and you want to give testimony about this person. The only way we'll be able to go up against people who oppress us is if we collectively speak up against them. And we have to collectively speak up against them. And I know that is really scary, right? This is my landlord. Their name is Joe Schmo. They do blah, 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 blah. But that is how we will potentially shut that down. I want to look at the chat really quick to see what questions there are. And Ernesto is going to help us stay on track. Yes, you can find, well, it's not an easy way to find public testimony, but don't the staff at the city, can I contact them? Yeah, so you can always contact the city. And so staff will sometimes, like if it's an operational issue, like we need this thing looked at or this thing checked, the staff will sometimes be the response people or the, but if it's a bigger policy concern or bigger policy issue around something not being handled, and usually what happens is people don't feel like they get what they want from staff, so they come to council, like that's their next sort of line of defense. But you are welcome to try staff. You are also encouraged to try people on council. I'd love for us to maybe just sit and maybe think of a story that each of you have around housing, if you want to write practice testimony around housing. And we could say that you want to support like two things that I heard today. Stronger renter protections against evictions. So making sure that landlords can't just do whatever they want. That could be a type of testimony. And then the second one could be around home ownership. So finding ways to direct more funding to support people being able to own homes. Thoughts, comments, questions? I'm going to find the agenda so people know what the city council agenda can be found.
Baby, where did you get those cacahuates?
No, that's not for us.
I have a question. Has anyone here ever done testimony, whether it's in Oregon or anywhere else? Has anyone here ever done testimony? I see Pee Wee.
Hey.
Mooney. Thank you. Eugenie. Okay.
And me.
Maria Dolores. Do one of you maybe want to share when you testified and what it was that you were testifying for? Because I got stories and it's a lot of hot gossip, but it's not about me. And when I testified in Arizona, I mean, I'm just going to say, Google my name, I'm on the news. Just kidding, I'm not. Really, I'm not. But anyways, if anybody who has testified before, it would be really great to share about what you testified for and what you were said. Oh, I got two hands. Go ahead, Nadia.
Oh, not me. I don't have a hand. Somebody else.
Oh, Mooney, Eugenie, I'm not sure who was first. Since we have not heard from Eugenie very much right now, I think Eugenie, you can go first and then Mooney can follow if that's okay.
Okay. Thank you, Ernesto. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm going to keep my camera off because there's no lighting. And so anyway, the testimony I had was, well, I had twice. I had two opportunities. One was with Multnomah County commissioners, to help advocate for the providing direct access, better access to services that refugee communities needed in that county. So we had to speak in ways that convinced the commissioners that it was very important. Like my part was to convince them that it was very important to shorten the distance between the resources that are being provided to the community. And because usually the accessibility is a problem because of language barriers and other things that hinder those who really need these resources in order to access them. So that was one. The other one was for the Crown Act. And so I also participated in that. The Crown Act was to protect Black people from being mistreated because of their hair or the way they want to carry their hair, basically. So those are the two things I participated in. Thank you. So I don't know if it really counts as testimonies, but I did speak with the state and then with Multnomah County commissioners.
It does. It counts. That's amazing. Keep on keeping on. Mooney.
Oh my God, what haven't I testified on? all kinds of things from when I was in college, testifying on trying to get Rochester Public Transit in New York to become accessible, to getting the university to divest in South Africa. This was the 80s. I'm old. To, like, most recently to various things to the Oregon State Legislature on everything from housing and unhousedness to like the bill for continuing the double up bucks, which is they match EBT and SNAP when you use your EBT and SNAP card at the farmers markets. There's funds to match those funds so that poor people can get like fresh fruits and vegetables and be able to afford them and stretch out their food budget, which is, like, as a poor person who is on EBT, I really appreciate that. So, like, all kinds of things. I'm like, I have a big mouth. So yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I will tell you, my foray into politics actually started with testimony as well. I was a teacher at Beaverton High School, and the Beaverton School District was going to get Student Success Act funding, and they were doing community conversations on weeknights with no childcare with communities that I think they didn't need to hear from to get their feedback about what should happen with this money. So the state wanted community engagement focused on communities that were most harmed to get their feedback. And so I like show up at this event with my baby and there's no childcare. It's a weeknight. Let's just say I'm the only one that looked like this color of skin. And a lot of families were like, we need more music and we need more art, which, like, I'm here for music and I'm here for art. But like 36% of Beaverton School District students are on free and reduced lunch and don't have like the food. And 2,000 students in Beaverton School District don't have homes. And so I'm here for the music and I'm here for the art, but I'm also here for like basic needs being met of our students. And so I started organizing some communities of color to start saying, well, what are the things that you want if you had money? Because money was coming, but the decisions that were being made around that money was being decided by people who had the power and the privilege to say instruments, music lessons, right? More art. And again, I don't want to say that we don't want enrichment. We want enrichment for our kids. But if an elementary school that's in poverty or in a Title I school, which is a high free and reduced lunch population, which means families who are living under the federal poverty level, we got to talk about figuring out how we're making sure that their basic needs are met before trying to enrich them with things like art and music. And so when I went to the sessions, I kept seeing the same families asking for the same thing, which was harder classes for their kids, again, more enrichment. And so I started testifying at the Beaverton school board meetings to talk about listening to communities of color, finding ways to engage with communities of color. And we say a lot, like, the communities that are the most harmed, they're not the ones that we're listening to, and they're not the ones that we're hearing from. And it's often because other communities with power, privilege, access, time, right, just sit there and testify and write us testimony once a week on the city council. And so testimony is really, really powerful to being able to help elected leaders. And I'm telling you, like Ernesto said, y'all elected us, but our lived experiences are not yours. Maybe we didn't struggle with housing. You know that people know that Counselor Husson's upset about this outdoor school thing because I am. And because of who I am, more people are listening. But it wasn't like that a year ago when I was doing that. And so some of us don't get the lived experiences of you because our identity evolves. And so we need to hear from you to know what your experiences are so that we can try to do better. Ernesto, you raised your hand a while ago.
Oh, yes. I thought I saw Sylvia's hand up, but
Watching.
maybe it was a thumb. Okay, no, I see your, okay. Saw a thumbs up. No, no worries. We're at 15 minutes before we close out. So we have about 5 minutes and then we can do wrap up announcements, and we have some opportunities to provide testimony coming up. But we still have 5 minutes. So if anybody has questions or comments, this would be the time.
I don't think they like me, Ernesto. JK, it's cool. It's Wednesday night. I'm tired too.
Are people, raise your hand if you're here. Raise your hand, because if I see you're not here and your phone is just up and you think that you're just showing, I see some hands. Oh, I see some hands. I see, okay, I see. Okay, because remember, this program means a lot to us. So we want to hear from you. I see hands. Thank you. I appreciate y'all. We got 2 teachers in the room. You can tell.
Fun.
Maybe, oh, go ahead.
Oh, well, there's this question. What is it Annalie? Do you have a hand raise or you're just hand raised?
Oh no, I just did it because Ernesto scared me.
Watch out for Ernesto. Carolyn, per my calendar, we're having a housing talk on January 17th, but I feel like staff would be better people to confirm or deny.
Thank you, Councilor Hassan. That conversation has been moved to February, so that we will be having the conversation on February 21st. There you go.
And Carolyn, to your question, absolutely. If you give testimony, so if the staff is going to do a presentation based on the date that Javier mentioned, it's a great idea to show up to that meeting, or call in if that's easier for you, and share in 3 minutes your experience of being on this cohort and what you want the council to hear, because staff's role here, and I'll try to say this, carefully, they are listening to all of the different folks' feedback that they're hearing from. So they're hearing you, but if you said something that you are like, the council needs to hear this thing, staff wouldn't necessarily be the people that would funnel that for you. It's really for you to try to find a way to do that. And so if there is an experience, or if there is a specific thing that gives you such passion that you want us to know about, and staff, please feel free to tell me to, keep me honest. It is important for you to share that experience. And I want to go back to this analogy that I was doing, this is a city councilor's brain, right? And then we get all this testimony from the same people about the same thing. And so we lose track of, honestly, our most vulnerable and harmed communities, because someone's complaining about something that is important, but on the grand scheme of things may not be around something as basic as housing. So we kind of have to fight for that space in that council person's mind. And it's not one counselor, it's, there's 7 elected leaders, and, so you need to get in all of our heads, which is quite a bit of work, but also essential for us to start to see the change that we want to see in this community.
I see a hand up from Carolyn.
Yes.
No, I didn't have my hand up. I was just madly trying to find the agenda on the Beaverton website.
Okay, thank you. And if somebody has access to that agenda and would like to paste it in the link, so that Carolyn can see. Oh, Mooney?
You can get on the SMS list for the city of Beaverton, and I'm pretty sure somebody here knows how to do that. they put out the agenda for the next meeting like 4 or 5 days before the actual meeting. It's not on the website before the meeting. Those are the meeting notes like after the meetings. So yeah, they usually post the next agenda like 4 or 5 days before the actual meetings. And the meetings are every 2 weeks for the city council.
Mooney coming in with the hot information facts that we are here to hear about. We do have about 9 minutes, and I want to make sure we have enough time to talk about upcoming things that we would like to share with you. If there's nothing else further, I think we can wrap up this segment. Okay, beautiful. All right, let's all give some love to Counselor Nadia Hassan for taking some time to be here. She is a mom, she is a wife, she is a human being, and she is taking her time to be here, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much, Counselor Nadia Hassan, for being here. We really appreciate it.
Please make sure that my counselors hear from y'all, so our brains have you all in center. It would mean so much. And I'm coming back because I don't think I won y'all over. So Ernesto, we'll talk later. Have a fabulous night. Thanks for all you do. It really does matter to each of us. And I know our staff appreciates it as well. So have a good night. Bye.
All righty. Thank you, Counselor. So we're going to pivot on. You saw that I shared a little slide earlier that talked a little bit about some upcoming opportunities for you to be engaged in the House Series talk. And I will pass the baton over to BNF that can share a little bit more about how you're able to learn more about the City of Beaverton's Housing Talk Series. Can you guys see my screen? No, doesn't work. Okay, give me a second. There we go.
There we go. Great. Yes, so we are having, well, first I wanted to mention that we are on February, I want to say February, I have a lot of dates in my head, so bear with me. February 7th, we're going to be presenting in front of City Council around the Inclusive Housing Cohort and HTAG. If you don't know, Housing Technical Advisory Group, they are an advisory body that helps support a lot of our housing projects with the City of Beaverton. And so we're going to be presenting on the community engagement work that we're doing as a housing department. So if you want to sit in on that or listen in or even like do a testimony to say, hey, I've been part of the cohort and I've really gotten a lot out of it, or I've learned a lot or been engaged in my community, we would love to have you. And I can put more information on the chat. But February 21st, we're going to be talking about affordable housing funding around that. We know that more housing development needs to occur. And so we need to find a funding stream that would be
Just a
something
little
to pursue.
correction, BNF. Actually, we'll be talking about on February, we'll be talking about the programs prioritization, and then on the March,
we're switching now. Okay.
We're switching.
Okay.
Yeah, and specifically, it'll cover the stuff that BNF and I talked about today around the Housing Beaverton project. So if thinking about that discussion, if you want to show up and testify and hear what City Council has to say about prioritizing those housing strategies, definitely that's one to watch.
Yeah, and I will put more information in the chat, or we'll send that information to you. So yeah, we would love to have you listen in or prepare any kind of statement that could be helpful for City Council. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, BNF. And if anyone is interested in learning more about testimony and maybe getting one-on-one support, Unite Oregon is here. I am here. Ugo is here. Also, Pee-wee is here. I think Jazz is here. I think I saw Mwafak earlier who was here. We have a staff that is willing to help and would be glad to help And if you want to learn more about testimony, it's really important. Our founder, Casey Jama, was an immigrant and came here and saw a lot of the inequities that were happening in Oregon and decided to create a really cool program called BOLD that some of you have been a part of, Beaverton Organizing Leadership Development. It's one of our partnerships with the city. And now our founder, Casey Jama, is in the U.S. Oregon Senate and has been one of the champions about housing, renter protections, COVID relief, cash assistance. So at UNI Oregon, we're here to support the community and making sure that we prioritize your needs. So I want to let you all know that we are here for you. We are an extension of the community as well. So I hope you all found today's workshop meaningful and also excited to be more involved in the hot gossip, which I don't know what the hot gossip is, but I can connect you to the hot gossip. So we do have a survey for all of you that we would like for you to fill out to kind of share a little bit more feedback, and we can paste.
Sorry, it's the result from the survey we sent after the fourth meeting.
It's the results. There we go. Thank you, Pee-wee. So if you would like to click on the link that we're going to post in the chat, you can see the results of the survey response that all of you had submitted. So thank you for those who have taken the time to fill that out. We do take it very seriously as a team. We review it, and every year we try to make our programming better for all of you. Does anyone have any questions before we wrap up, or does anyone want to share how they feel about today's meeting? Do you feel good? Do you feel tired? You can be tired. Can we have one person? Because I talk a lot.
This isn't very deep, but I wanted to share something about testimony.
Yeah.
If that's okay. When staff receives testimony, sometimes we ask for people for their address, and people don't. There are people who want to sometimes submit testimony, but they're nervous about sharing their address. And the reason we do that is, so we can share updates with you. For some reason, we're legally not allowed to send them through email. Like, we can have casual conversations, but the lawyers say you need physical address and mailings. But you can still submit the testimony and leave your address off. It just means we can't send you updates. So if people are asking for your address, I wouldn't be worried about it. Just don't put it on there if you don't want them to have it, and you can just look at the website on your own.
I just wanted to add, it's been really great to hear about testimonies and learning more about it, because in my life, I wish I would have taken advantage of that a lot more and knew that that was something that I can do for myself and for my community, especially for my family. So it was really great learning more about that. I'm so sorry I wasn't as engaged. I just got into town, so but it was a great meeting. Thank you so much for putting it together.
Wonderful. Thank you, Annalie. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate you all being here. So does anyone here know how many more meetings we have? Because I do. One. Thank you. I am going into my teacher mode because I really got to work for it right now. So we have one more meeting left. Does anyone know when it is?
February 7th?
Close. February 1st on a Wednesday. Yes. Thank you, Melinda. Appreciate that support. So yes,